everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talk 10 with Mahen. In this month of August, which in South Africa is dedicated to women, it gives me so much of happiness to invite today Selvie Naicker. She is a very talented and very successful woman. She has made significant strides in her chosen field, which is floral art and design. Currently, Selvie runs her own business. It is called Bright Ideas. Her journey in this art form has been really amazing. And if one could sum it up in a phrase, it would be from fashion shows to flower shows. Welcome, Selvie. It is such a joy to have you on today's episode. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, Mahenthri, for welcoming me into this show. I feel privileged.
I was so impressed when I looked at all your beautiful floral arrangements and your participation in the international contests and so on. How did this start?
Well, the journey started while I was a little girl, when I used to play in the garden. I used to play with flowers, arrange them in little pots, and that's how I got interested in flowers. But obviously in school, you have to choose differently. You can't choose floral art or something like that. So I chose just designing after metric. Thereafter, I did my designing course in tech, and I found it interesting because I took it further with lots of different courses, adding to the designing course. For 15 years, I taught designing. I had a lot of fashion shows in between. So when the children were born and then they grew up, I had to pay a lot of attention to them. So I couldn't really teach, and I gave up that. And while I was at home, then I decided, somebody introduced me to the Westville Civic Center. So they said, you like flowers, why don't you join in? So I joined in there, and I've seen them doing competitions from novice, intermediate and advanced. Then I realized that, let me try this novice. I was very nervous at that time. But in the meeting, they used to have lots of demos and things like that. So we picked up from there. I have a friend that we always keep together. We are friends for over 25 years now in the floral art business. So we entered the novice section, and from there you have to get 4 golds to get into intermediate. From the intermediate you have to get 4 golds to get into the advanced stage. And ever since I've been entering lots of local shows and national shows.
You make us so proud. You represented our country at an international event, and that in itself is so praiseworthy. What do flowers and plants mean to you?
Yeah, with flowers and plants, there's something about me. When I get up first thing in the morning, I need to visit my garden, talk to them and water them. And, I have so much of joy just looking at my plants. So it started, you can say, it started from a little girl and it continued. I never gave up on plants and flowers.
I looked at the footage of that amazing World Flower event that was held in Jaipur in Rajasthan. I think it was 28 countries, that participated in that event.
You see, I used to do the local shows and the national shows, and it wasn't one of my bucket lists to do this international show. So it's just like the Olympics, every 4 years, it moves to different countries. So when we heard it's going to be in 2020, it's going to be in India, I was quite excited. So I told my friend, let's take a chance. We registered ourselves, we got in, and then once we were there, it was very, very exciting because we were meeting a lot of people. Then you got to work according to your theme. The first theme we did was of palaces and peacocks. So it was for 2 people. So my friend and I, we said, we'll do that. And then I did the other one. Because I always used to play with my grandchildren, peekaboo and all that, so I decided to do that theme.
Let's talk about the first exhibit, Selvie. You and I think it was Vasagi Governor.
Yes.
Did a beautiful peacock. Now, I was thinking about this. Did you have to actually ship material from South Africa to the venue, or how did you put it together, and over what time period were you allowed to create that exhibit?
They give you so many hours to do these competitions. But when it came to the of palaces and peacocks, the background, if you see, it was all like paint work, the palace. So that was done at home. Because certain things are allowed according to the rules we had to go. And when it came to doing the peacock, part of it can be done from home and brought into wherever. So when we arrived like 2 days before the show, we went to the showgrounds to see if our order came in and all that we required is there. And most of the painting, if you see on the peacock, it was painted at home and some in the hotel.
Must have been painstaking, because I took a look at it and there was such fine detail. I mean, it's no easy task to create a peacock, but both of you did such a fabulous job.
Yeah, we were fighting for time, because you think it's going to be like the way you sorted it at home, and we did workshops at home and things like that. But when you're in another country, we're looking for branches you need for the peacock. We couldn't carry all that by plane, and obviously nobody knows what branch you're looking for. So in the hotel, these guys were quite friendly. So I asked them to trim the branches for me.
And what was the atmosphere like at the World Flower Show?
Well, everybody was in a very good spirit. Obviously, we were fighting for time, but we were friendly, talking to each other. Because when it comes to floral art, nobody can copy your design. You already have that, design in your head, how you're going to do this thing. And your plant material won't be the same as the next. Everybody's peacock was different. We found it was a lot of work, initially. And afterwards, we got everything on time. Yeah.
I think there's great satisfaction to see the end result, isn't it?
Yes, it was.
You do a whole range of arrangements for various events. Tell us the nature of the work that you are doing from home.
At the moment, we have a lot of clients that wanting for birthdays and weddings. But with COVID, there's very limited space. They like 50 or 100 people. So we're doing small arrangements and keeping it simple. But otherwise, it depends on, some of them want a theme event. So we go all out looking for how we're going to do this theme event and things like that. Yeah, it gives you a lot of joy. With me, as soon as I get an order, I'm all excited to, thinking of the ideas, how we're going to display all this stuff and things like that. So my friend is not far off, so she always comes and helps me with these things. We did an order in 2017. That was a very big wedding, Christian wedding. So they wanted the church done, the bouquets, and the whole of the hall was full of flowers. But it was such a beautiful event when everybody walked in. The wow factor was stunning.
Congratulations. I'm really proud of all your efforts. Do you have a favorite flower, Selvie? And which is it? Personally, I love the lily. I love the tiger lily. All lilies, I really love them.
Well, I love all types of flowers. But when it comes to the favorite, I think the lilies and orchids are my favorites.
Now that you mentioned orchids, tell us about your orchid collection.
My husband was very interested in orchids. He used to buy these orchids and bring it home. And I used to say, it's so expensive, and what if it died? And I used to plant it. But when you plant, putting it in, there's no sand required. You just need a bit of stones and bark chips, and it's got to be very light. And then you need a light spray on it. I've got now maybe 15 orchids growing. They all are spiking and ready to flower.
That must be so beautiful. All of us love flowers. How can we take care of the arrangements that we buy, or the flowers that we put into vases?
You can't keep it very long. Maybe 2 weeks is maximum, I would say. You got to learn to change your water after 3 or 4 days. And in the water, you can add some kind of a nutrient so it survives longer. So I use like a bit of sugar, like a teaspoon of sugar, and a little bit of bleach, a few drops of bleach. The leaves that are not looking good, you'll take off those leaves, and then you cut it in like a slant, in an angle. It draws up the water, and maybe a third or fourth day, you'll see it looking a bit cloudy, the water. You can change the water. The orchids and roses and lilies do last, but the other flowers, they fall off, the petals start falling, then it's getting old. You can remove them as they fall off.
So what are your thoughts for those aspiring to do this?
If you have an interest in plants and flowers, definitely you can. But you've got to learn the basics, because once you learn the basics, then it's over to you. You start designing the way you want. When it comes to flowers, there's no hard and fast rules. It's got to be like this, it's got to be like that.
What is happening in South Africa in terms of the competitions within the country?
Well, with the national shows, lots of other provinces, they come and enter, and we compete with them. That's how we, get excited. We're competing with other people because they learned, they work differently. Sometimes they apply it differently as well. So we learned a lot that way.
So
not everybody. Sorry?
To be part of a club to enter, or can you just enter individually?
No, you've got to be a part of a club. So I belong to Westville Civic Center. We go there every fourth Tuesday of the month. And then we become a member of SAFU, the South African Flower Association or Union.
I know that you've also won a municipal award for the best verge. Can you tell us about that?
I love gardening. As I told you, I love plants and gardening. So all my neighbors know now it's Selvie's Day outside. So I give my neighbors a lot of plants as well. My verge, I used a lot of bromeliads. I find they're hardy plants and less maintenance on it.
I also know that you've been in a bad accident.
In end of 2018, I met with a serious accident. I got rods on both my legs. But I must be grateful to the lady that taught me yoga as well. I used to do yoga at home every second day. And the lady used to come once a week and teach me. I think the yoga helped me to heal when it came to the bones and things like that. So I'm completely healed with the accident. But obviously in your mind as well, you got to heal. So that I had to work on that on my own. And I've realized that if I have to move further with whatever I'm doing, especially with flowers, and I wanted to take part in this World Flower Show, I got to heal myself. So,
can we say flowers helped you in this healing journey?
Oh yes, because you have to have something to fall back on. Now it's Corona time, and most of them are at home, and some of them are out of a job. But if you have something to fall back on, like with me it was flowers and plants, you've got to keep your mind busy. You just have to be strong there. Well, I had a lot of challenges in my life, losing my husband and things like that.
Yes.
But when you fall, you realize you got to get up or stay there.
This whole involvement, working with beautiful flowers, is inspiring you and bringing you so much of happiness. You just love being in your garden, and you do have orchids. But you also have a plan to start something else in the garden. Can you tell me what your plan is?
Well, I'm starting to use a lot of my succulents that I have in my garden. And because it's locked down, you're mostly indoors and don't know what to do. So I looked at little containers from your kitchen and the lounge and all that. I found lots of little containers. And I started planting these succulents. I put about 3 or 4 in one container. I'm also using the enamel pots and mugs because they are also in fashion now. So just in case somebody is interested in succulents and they don't like gardening or they don't have a garden living in a flat, these are the perfect gifts for them.
I think it's a brilliant idea. And they are also easy to take care of. You don't need so much of specialized care for those plants, isn't it?
No. Once it's in the pot, you use a very little. You use your compost and whatever other sand you want to use, your potting soil. Just use a spray and spray it. You don't need to water it, nothing.
Do you have plans to actually take part in the next World Flower event?
The next one is going to be in New Zealand. I love to be there.
Okay, so we'll look out for you in that event. Selvie, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. I wish you every success, and you bringing people so much of joy with all the beautiful arrangements. I mean, flowers just brighten up anybody's day. I wish you well with your gardening as well as your competitions. Take care, Selvie, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mahenthri. Stay safe and God bless.